Arizona State and USC battle from the Coliseum in Los Angeles. The USC Trojans laying 9, the total at 65.5 at pregamelines.com. USC opened up about 1.5 or 2 higher in this matchup. Of course, both teams coming off a loss. Arizona State had them last week, by the way, guys. I took Arizona State, thought Oregon State was in a tough situation, but Mike Riley is just doing an amazing job with that football team, and we'll talk about them at a different time. But as far as Arizona State's concerned, they had a 19-10 lead in that contest, ended up losing at Corvallis by 10, did not cover the spread. And as far as USC, you saw what happened to them. They scored 51 points, gained over 600 yards. But, Marco, they gave up 730 yards. They gave up 62 points, 37 first downs allowed in that game. And we've seen this team struggling in the trenches all the way back to when they played Syracuse in a 42-29 win. Can this team pull it back together now with nothing really left to play for?
Well, that's the whole key. What do they have to play for? They got 2 games left on their schedule that they might have any interest in, one being UCLA, and really how much of a is that anymore for them, because they've been beating the snot out of UCLA every year for the last decade, so it means more to UCLA. But the end of the season against Notre Dame is the only game they got left to have anything to go with. And after last week, I mean, they put everything they had in that game. Offense did great, as it's done most of the year. They just can't stop anybody, and that's the problem.
And even the offense at times, although they were healthy. In fact, I gave out USC as a free pick here on the videos last week, plus the points over Oregon. But even the offensive line was struggling earlier in the season a little bit. I'm talking relatively speaking. They got healthy last week, and they were able to put up a lot of yardage and a lot of points on the Oregon Ducks with their healthy offensive line up front. But, Bryan, this was a preseason number 1. They're starting to debate now whether this is the worst preseason number 1 of all time. And as far as I'm concerned, even if they want to be here in this game against Arizona State, do they have the defense that can slow anybody down? As Marco said, Monty Kiffin, he was okay the last couple of years at Tampa Bay, but he was nothing special. If Lane Kiffin's going to keep his job here, you got to think that Monty Kiffin's got to step down at the end of this season.
I agree. The defense has been tremendously bad. And we've talked all year about USC being an overrated team, and Marco hit it on the head. I mean, last week, that was the game, Oregon. They put everything into that game. And you take a look at the teams they covered against this year. A short list. It was against Cal, and I remember this because that was my best bet one week. And Cal had a big lead in that game, and then they came back and and then Colorado. And everybody's covered against Colorado.
The 3 of us could suit up and score a couple points.
I'm not going to say that.
They couldn't tackle Marco. No way.
They
put a buffet in the end zone. I'm in.
All right. He yells at us for talking about him, and then he talks about himself, But I'm assuming I know what your play is in this game.
Right.
But, take a look at the history in this game. Arizona State's played them very well. I mean, 43-22 winner last year. Only lost by a point in 2011. Lost by 5 in 2009. I mean, this is a team right here that plays very well against USC. And I was with you. I took the 4.5 points with Arizona State last week. I lost that bet. But, you can't tell me at this point that USC is any better than Arizona State is from what we've seen out of USC this season.
At Arizona State, nobody talks about their defense this year, at least nobody east of Utah. I mean, they're 25th, allowing just 330 total yards per game. You can run on the Sun Devils, but I don't know if USC has got it together to be able to do so. Awfully stingy on pass defense talking about Arizona State. So I think you could see some Matt Barkley handoffs a little bit more than you think. It might be a situation where the under slides in also. Anyway, this is my free pick. Nothing wrong with Arizona State quarterback Taylor Kelly. 2,100 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, only 6 INTs. And what's interesting about Arizona State's offense, they have 4 players averaging between 316 yards rushing and 393 yards rushing. A lot of depth in this running back core. They're going to want to be here. Not so sure USC will. I like Arizona State plus the points. When we come back, we've got Alabama taking on A&M. All that and more right here at pregame.tv. Started going into my free pick without pausing there. That's why.